Now, I'm going to look at the banking sector, and that was a major push for May at 26%. That's the headline we've had since the year started. But since then, it looks like it's slowing down to 2 months negative reading. August, 1.3% in the red. September to date, 1.1% in the red for the banking stocks. So is it safe for me to say, or for anyone to say that, look, we're done with the banking stocks, as it were, or was this in anticipation in the month of May as far as the earnings, quarterly earnings were, or there still be some earnings from third quarter, fourth quarter that could drive this double red that I'm seeing in August and September from the banking space?
Well, so what we've noticed is in those months where the market was up, the second quarter of the year, we saw a significant rally across most of the banking stocks, especially the tier 1 banks. So looking at likes of the GT, Zenith, UBA, Access, which were investors' top picks in that space. Considering the valuation of the stocks at that time relative to their performance, it was quite obvious that these stocks were trading at a discount, and so a lot of investors take position. But what we've seen what we saw in August and early trades of this month, we've seen sustained profit taking in these stocks, which doesn't necessarily take anything away from the fact that these are fundamentally sound stocks. I mean, if you look at their performance from 2016, when the general macroeconomic conditions were poor, they showed their resilience by churning out positive results. So we still believe these are fundamentally sound stocks that investors can still take position in. As their 9 months results start to come in, we believe we might see some rally in these stocks. Although the rally we're expecting would not be as significant as what we saw in the second quarter, but generally it would still be positive.
Let's go down a little bit to the consumer goods market, and we're looking at some of the stories for the July, August, and September, which is the Q3, even though we have about 3 weeks to round off the third quarter. And the consumer goods space in the last couple of weeks has given out a few numbers. Are you particularly encouraged, for example, by the numbers from Guinness Nigeria, and we're just going to try and put that out there, where you see Guinness numbers coming from? Some analysts are saying, well, this looks like this stock has turned the corner. They've been able to raise prices of some of their products. They're trying to leverage coming back to the market. They're making very strong, they've turned their earnings per share from a negative 134 to 126 EPS for 2016 financial year ended June the 31st. Talk us through this.
Yes, so for the consumer goods sector in general, most of the time, foreign investors' top picks in that sector are Nigerian breweries, Nestle, and Guinness. And we saw a significant rally in Nigerian breweries and Nestle within the period. But for Guinness, considering challenges that they've been facing with the mounting finance costs, which weighed heavily on their books, leading to the loss that was recorded, we saw investors sort of stay clear of this stock. But from their recently released results, we've seen that they've turned the corner, like you mentioned, moving from a loss of about 2 billion to a profit position, which is also quite positive. And in terms of looking at historical valuation of the stock, there's still a lot of potential for appreciation in stock, currently trading at about 96 naira, from about 60 to 65 naira a couple of months back. And with the fresh capital that they've been able to raise, we believe they'll be able to sort out some of their finance issues that they've been having, expansion, working capital, and generally we expect to see a more positive performance from them.
Do you see something happening in the brewing market here? This is where you have these two big competitors, Guinness and Nigerian breweries on one hand, then you have international breweries on the other, also talking about some mergers and acquisition with some other small players, looking at these two big giants and trying to also raise his own game.
Okay, well, I mean, Nigerian breweries currently has over 60% of, in terms of revenue share in the in the brewery space. Nigerian breweries currently has about over 60%. Guinness between 20%, and then international breweries with the rest. You know, with the acquisition, the merger between AB InBev and SAB Miller, two of the biggest brewers in the world, we've seen the hopes for expansion in international breweries have been increased, given that the parent company now, the AB InBev, has announced plans of merging some of their 4 other brewers that they have here in Nigeria with international breweries, which will be generally positive for their market share. And we're expecting a lot of investments to go into that space. So the Nigerian breweries sector itself should see some expansions in the near term.
What the analysts are saying, as far as Guinness is concerned, was that this company was able to raise prices, at the same time grow volume. So despite the fact that prices went up and folks are still drinking.
Yes, I mean, if you...
Is it football?
I guess that could be one of them, but if you look at it just from a layman's point of view, when you're happy, you drink.
But there was a recession.
When you're sad,
you got to be careful here, because there was a recession. Do you mean we drank our way out of recession?
Well, for most of these brewing companies, you know, they have different products which sort of apply to different classes of people. You have their premium product, you have their discount product. So if you're deciding not to buy one of their premium brands, you're probably going for a lesser brand, but still from the same company. So either ways, they're still making...
They're taking money from you.
They're still making this.
I saw a lot of drinks around football, but I can't talk about that now because it's not that time of the day before I get seriously slammed. But it's okay. You guys can drink your way out of a recession. This is what the numbers are looking like. Nigerian breweries, Guinness Nigeria, international breweries looks like brewing business is big business this day, and you have to put something behind it. Okay, that's a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you,
bright and early. And as I advised, Bolanho, I know from Codros Capital, Eronmosele, you try to find your way back to the island where I'm sure the flood is a lot more than those of us who are uptown here.